Hello and welcome to yet another new series. Today I'm going to be ranking every single legendary lord in the High Elves from worst to best. This is all building up to me ranking every single legendary lord in the game from worst to best, so definitely subscribe if you want to see that. So to lay out the rules and criteria, I'm going to be focusing on the campaign rather than multiplayer because that's kind of my thing, and also anyone can make anything work in multiplayer if they are good enough. I'm going to be taking into account everything I can that is specific to the Lord and faction. This includes the unique effects that they bring, the effects they have on their army, and of course the Lord themselves and their performance in battle. Now before we get into this, I'd just like to say that these rankings are of course based off of my experiences and opinions with these factions. If you have a different ranking, then be sure to leave it in the comments down below. I'm never saying that my ranking is the facts, I'm just saying that it is my personal ranking. I'd like to preface this by saying that pretty much all the High Elf Lords are really good, and ranking them was quite difficult, even more difficult than ranking all the factions from worst to best. But first, time is running out to get 10% off your order on the COLONELDAMNEDERS merch store. Until the 1st of May, you can get 10% off all orders using the code SEXYGROM at checkout. If you've ever wanted to pick up a bit of merch, be it the brand new, the thickest one, or the classic logo, then there's never been a better time to do it. All purchases on the store go directly towards supporting the channel, and I can't thank anyone that buys anything enough. So if you're interested, head on over to COLONELDAMNEDERS.store to check out everything. Also, if you do buy anything, be sure to take some pictures and tag me on Instagram and Twitter, I'd love to see them. I'll now return you to your regularly scheduled ranking. So now I've laid out the criteria, let's get into the ranking. Starting with Imrik. Now this one is a controversial one, I'm well aware, but it just comes down to it that all the High Elf Lords are very powerful. It just happens that Imrik has the most difficult campaign, at least to get going, and all the others just kind of seem a little bit easier and therefore a little bit better than him. And again, this is all my own opinions. If you disagree, then let me know down in the comments. I'm sure you will. Now, his faction starts very Spider-Man Far From Home because he is literally on the opposite world as you can possibly be to Ulthuan. He is far in the east end of the map, right in the bottom, right next to Deathmaster Snitch, and not too far from Malice Darkblade. Now, dragon taming is his only real power as a faction. The quests get given every few turns and give you the choice of what to do to each dragon, and choosing to recruit these as quick as possible will be extremely challenging, but it will allow him to get a bunch of very, very powerful dragons. He also gets a couple of unique rights, the Great Invocation of Vol. This basically grants him a dilemma that offers items. It also offers flaming attacks for all units, armor for Swordmasters, White Lions, Phoenix Guard, and Dragon Princes, and the Vol's hammer ability during sieges, as well as 3 uses for all Dragon's breath abilities. And when you're playing as Imrik, you're going to have a bunch of dragons, so having 3 extra use of their breath abilities can be pretty significant. He also gets the Invocation of Eltharion, which grants 200 XP and 50% XP gain for Lords and Nobles, plus 25% AP weapon damage and 10 melee attack for Lords, Heroes, and Dragon Princes, at the cost of 15 relations with High Elves. This basically makes your Lords and Heroes, and of course your Dragon Princes, do a ridiculous amount of damage and also get a bit of extra XP in the process. And the final thing his faction has is the ability to recruit dragons in less turns, which is, again, very nice when he buffs them so hard. His personal armor gets plus 15% campaign move range, which really does help him to navigate that difficult mountain terrain that much better. He also gains minus 25% upkeep for dragons and Dragon Prince units, and you are going to be fielding a lot of these, so that will add up significantly. His starting units are Dragon Princes, which are top tier shot cav, White Lions of Krace, which are kind of okay infantry, and a Sun Dragon, which is ridiculous. As for in battle, he is pretty much defined by his mounts, so you want to be grinding those levels away to get through his dragon as quickly as possible. Without a mount, he is a pretty standard frontlines lord with heavy armor and really decent damage with a bonus versus large. Once you get all his items and abilities, he'll grant lots of buffs for his units and debuffs of the enemies. I chose to put him this low pretty much because of that start, being so very far from home and the difficulty in getting your first dragons on board. By all means, once you get the ball rolling, he can definitely be one of the most powerful lords, but it just takes quite a bit of effort to get there. Now coming in 5th, we have Alith Anar. So, Alith Anar, let's start with his faction. First of all, it doesn't start on Ulthuan, it starts in the mountains just to the west, along with all the Dark Elves. Now this makes the start into quite a bit of a painful one, since he is of course basically surrounded by all of his enemies, and all of his allies are on Ulthuan, and are most likely to keep to themselves, because that's kind of what they do. Now he does bring some good things to the faction. For instance, he has increased move range for all characters, and the global recruitment is really nice. The assassination missions are also quite cool, and are helped by the Invocation of Moray Heg that allows you to summon a hero to assassinate anyone with 100% chance. These do give him some nice bonuses, but it just isn't enough. He also offers a couple of unique movement stances to the faction. He has stalking, so like the Skaven, you can move and ambush people, and this is arguably the most powerful stance in the game for all the factions that have access to it. You can also use the Shadow Realm, which is basically like the Underways, allows you to navigate difficult terrain, yada yada yada. For his personal armor, he gains plus 25% ambush success chance, which when combined with stalking, is a pretty serious buff. The minus 50% upkeep for shadow units and the shadow units themselves are really cool and offer some strong skirmishing options to an already strong ranged roster. And of course, having these shadow walkers as some of your starting units is really nice. However, the spearmen and the great eagle are a bit meh. Now, Alith himself is cool, and he is a nice ranged skirmishing unit that can head those kiting attacks as well as do okay in the front lines. He, however, doesn't have any mounts, so this is as powerful as he's really going to get. He is very sneaky and can do some great skirmishing and buff his units, but honestly, aside from that, he's really nothing special. Granted, he is the only skirmishing lord in the High Elf roster, but it just isn't enough. I chose to put him this low based on his starting location. Later into the game, once the Dark Elves get to full power, it'll be very difficult to survive there. Also, in battle, he is very underwhelming, so I didn't really feel like I could put him any higher. Now, coming in 4th place, we have Teclis. And I know what you're thinking, Teclis is a fantastic spellcaster, and you're right. But he does start in Lustria, and for me, that is just pain. His faction gets better relations with men, high elves, lizards, and dwarves, so while you are in Lustria, you will be able to make friends with at least some of the people there. Unfortunately, it's just such a royal rumble that it's still just a massive pain to even try to expand, and if you do want to expand, chances are you're going to have to fight those lizard men anyway. He gets cheaper mage buildings along with +5 recruit rank for Lore Masters of Hoeth, mages and archmages, so as you can see, this faction has a strong focus on magic and mages. And he also gets cheaper sword masters and phoenixes for the entire faction. As for his army, the only real thing that he's bringing is a bunch more Winds of Magic reserve than anyone else. His starting army gains a bolt thrower, which is a fantastic multi-use artillery piece, the sword masters, which are great infantry units, and a great eagle, which are kind of okay. As I said, the majority of the downside of Teclis is that he starts in Lustria, and also the fact that even though he is a super duper powerful spellcaster, it's going to take him quite a number of levels before he can get to the point where he is that super duper powerful. Until that point, he's kind of weak. He comes with a bound fireball spell for a bit of added free oomph, but apart from that, he is as weak as you can be in actual combat, so you need to keep him safe in the back, casting as many spells as possible. Once he gets the Arcane Phoenix mount, this gives him a nice boost in speed and damage, and actually lets him engage in combat rather than just standing there watching it. With all his items and abilities, he can definitely do a massive amount of damage, as well as keep himself alive against a lot of odds. It just takes a long time to get to that point, and as I said, Lustria is a goddamn royal rumble down there, and it's just a pain to survive in. I chose to put him this low based on his start in Lustria, as it is just pure hell. Even if you have those good diplomatic bonuses, you're still going to have to fight everyone there, and there's that many legendary lords that it is very difficult to survive. It also takes Teclis quite a few levels to get to high power, so before you get to that point, you are really going to struggle. Taking our 3rd podium position is Eltharion the Grim. This guy isn't any higher because of one big reason: the dual starting positions with 2 starting cities and armies. It puts a massive strain on the economy and the empire management, since you start with your resources and attention very split. Of course, this faction comes with all sorts of interesting and powerful mechanics, such as Alith Anar, which offers a ton of bonuses and other mechanics, and the Mists of Regress, which make Ulthuan into even more of an impenetrable donut than it was before. Of course, he also gets -80 relations with greenskins, but were you ever going to be friends with them even if you didn't? And he also grants +3 to recruit rank for spear and ranger infantry. So his starting locations, one of them is on Ulthuan, which is of course very defensible and is fighting against a pretty meager greenskin force. But his other starting position is in the Badlands, and while he may be very powerful at fighting greenskins, he is still surrounded by a buttload of them, and they are still at the height of what they have ever been in terms of power. His personal army gains immunity to wasteland attrition, so at least they can survive moving around in the Badlands, at least until they get attacked by the greenskins. Spear and range infantry gain +8 to leadership and melee defense, so they can be a little bit tougher and stick around just a little bit longer in battle. And all units in his army cause fear to any greenskins, which will give you a real bonus in battle as you continually chip away at their leadership. His starter units are some staunch spear units, the Warlines, which are the great War Dogs unit that was brought alongside himself, and the Arcane Phoenix, which is the best Phoenix, which was, again, added alongside himself. As for Eltharion himself, in battle, he is a powerful defensive fighter with a great book of spells. He is truly a jack of all trades, heavily armoured and good damage, and access to the lore of high magic. He also has some powerful extra items and abilities for extra damage and buffs for units, and decent mounts, especially the beautiful Stormwing. All in all, Eltharion is actually a very powerful lord. It's just those dual starting positions make the beginning of his campaign into quite a bit of a slog. Taking 2nd place is the true vanilla ice cream of all legendary lords. It is Tyrion himself. His faction has possibly the easiest and most secure start of the game. They start in Lorthan, which is on the southern tip of Ulthuan. It's a very powerful dock city and is also one of the most defendable locations in the world. As for his faction effects, he can build the Shrine of Cain buildings faster than anyone else, so can get his hands on that sword even quicker. He's quicker at recruiting the core units of the High Elf armies, and has better relations with other High Elves, which makes for easier alliances and, of course, confederations. As for his personal army, he reduces the upkeep of a lot of the core units by 50%, which doesn't even take time to add up. That is just giving you value right out the gate. He also grants +3 recruit rank to Seaguard, which are the mid-game doom stack of the High Elves and are in almost every single army as soon as you unlock them. In battle, Tyrion himself is a good footlord and can fight against the best of them, but he doesn't really have much that's special. He has his little horse mount to make him into a battling shot cav with really great speed and charge bonus, and getting all of his items brings him more damage in the form of a breath ability and regeneration upon reaching less than 20% HP. Tyrion is so high because of his start is so secure, and the increased relations with the other Isles just means that you are so safe and that no one can really touch you without taking on the entirety of the donut, and if they do, they're going to feel the pain. Alternatively, if you don't want to go alliances and you just confederate everyone, then you can take control of the donut in record speed, and that is extremely powerful. Taking number 1 on our spot is Alarielle the Everqueen. Now, I made a video quite a while ago that said she was the worst legendary lord out of the High Elves in battle, and as for Val, I'm not too convinced, but her faction is definitely one of the most powerful in the game. So beginning with their starting location, they are literally in the center of Ulthuan. Now, Tyrion does definitely have the easiest starting location because his war is literally just a cakewalk, and Alarielle has to fight all the way up to the Shrine of Cain to finish hers, but aside from that, she has about as defensible a capital as you can get. She has cheaper cost for intrigue at courts, meaning you can manipulate diplomacy at the cost of less influence, which is always nice, and she only gets stronger as Ulthuan gets under High Elf control. Not necessarily her control, just general High Elf control. And yes, you are slightly penalised at the start because, as we all know, when you start out, Ulthuan has a couple of Dark Elf invaders, but you wipe away those pretty quickly. Once these penalties are gone, they are quickly forgotten due to the outrageous buffs. You get bonuses to public order, bonuses to income from all buildings, reductions to construction cost for all buildings, and of course, massive diplomatic relation bonuses for other High Elves. Quite like Tyrion, this means you can either form a massive alliance of the donut, or confederate everyone and take it under your control in record speed. She also gets +2 capacity for handmaidens, which are the unique hero, which are kind of like Sisters of Avalon but single entities. She also gets the unique Invocation of Liliath, which buffs magic with cooldown reduction and more winds of magic, and the Great Invocation of Isha, which buffs all of her tree spirit units, along with replenishment, immunity to attrition, and +10 untainted in all provinces. This really helps her in wiping out chaos, as you'll quickly see. Her personal army leaves lingering bonuses wherever it goes. This buffs the province, local armies, and even influence generation. Unfortunately, Alarielle does weaken as chaos arrives, so defeating chaos should be pretty high on your to-do list, because wherever they live, she's weaker. Also, you need to keep your lands free of corruption, which is made even easier using the Great Invocation of Isha. She also buffs Sisters of Avalon, which is just ridiculous. I mean, she also buffs Handmaidens, but who cares about that when you have Sisters of goddamn Avalon? Speaking of which, her starter units, Sisters of Avalon. Top tier, the Doom stack of the High Elves, the best unit in the High Elves, and it's not even close. The other two are Forest Spirit units and are also not too bad, but certainly nothing compared to these sisters. Alarielle herself in battle is a humble spellcaster. She has okay weapon damage and magical attacks, but a lack of any armor or resistances means she will fall pretty quickly against most foes. Once she gets all of her spells, items, and abilities, she can provide a staggering number of buffs to herself and the army, and of course, she's one of the best legendary lords out there to wield the Sword of Cain. Her mounts make her a little better for combat and give her a lot of speed, but she's still really squishy, so I wouldn't recommend it. I chose to give Alarielle the top spot based on her super secure and central location in Ulthuan, as well as her powerful faction mechanics when she's in control. Combine this with the fact that it is extremely easy to get in control, and you have a very, very powerful legendary lord. Thank you for watching this video ranking the High Elf lords from worst to best. If you'd like to see other videos ranking all the legendary lords from other factions, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'd like to take this time to thank all supporters of the channel, especially Kobe Said So and Nifty Norm, who are subscribed all the way to the Unclean Ones tier. Your level of support is really insane, and I can't thank you enough. One more time, thank you for watching, and for now, I've been COLONELDAMNEDERS, and I will see you next turn.